What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode here at Kibbetech. We got a bunch of new stuff this week again, so come check it out. All right, back here on the Black Prerunner. We showed you a little bit of this one a couple weeks ago. We got it up on the lift and the wheels off, so we could really show you a little more what we got going on in this thing and what we did to it. We'll start here at the rear end since we're right here. So yeah, it's got a Curry F9 rear end, 4-inch axle tubes. It's got our Curry specific upper link mount kit. So we laser cut all these brackets right here and weld them on the top for our upper 4-link pivots. And then over here, it's got our billet lower tabs. These are all billet 4130 machined lower axle pivots right here. So these are about 3/4 thick, run a 3/4 bolt, recesses the bolt head in there a little bit. You can see it's got all RPI 12 points on everything on this truck. So we sell those as a kit as well. These are also our billet GMR trophy truck caliper mounts. These are for the radial GMR trophy truck calipers. It's a big 6-piston caliper. You can see they're pretty massive. Just need to get the brake pads in there, and then those are all set and done. There's no limit straps in it right now. We're getting our own limit straps made from PRP, so those should be here hopefully this week. This is what the schedule said, so that'll be nice to get those in there. Sway bar is not in it right now. It's running our billet sway bar with our billet end links, so that's all tabbed out, and we integrated the brake line bulkhead tab in with the sway bar tab. It's got bump pad right there, all stainless hard lines we did in-house, a couple little Adele clamps holding them down here, a T up here, a little soft whip to that spot, and it's got the Everson billet upper link brake line bulkhead with integrated rear end vent. So it's got the big vent with the Earl's crimp style hose, and then it goes to a hard line up the upper link. Then it all goes back to another soft whip up there. You see it's all powder coated, this nice gray color we do on everything. The chassis is the same color. So most of all the fabricated and steel parts on this truck are all this same color. Hubs, it's got a Curry 2.5-inch hubs. So that's their 2.5-inch hub kit. This thing's a 5 on 5.5. So a little different than what's normally on a Silverado, but it's just, we had the wheels already and stuff like that. So it just kind of worked out this way. Haven't had an issue with those yet. And it runs a big 40 spline. Obviously it's covered up right now, but it's a 40 spline 300M axles. And then it has a Gearworks 10-inch third member with a 514 gear and a spool. So it's just fully spooled, locked up all the time. And then from under here, you can see it's got our battery mounts up in there. And we did those off the inside of the frame, so the upper link kind of comes up and just clears those perfectly. So that was a nice spot to get them tucked away. You can see over there, it's got a big Earl's fuel filter. So this one has dual intake pumps. So it's got a single filter because I ran a Y block right there, a Y manifold, and then did 2-into-1 on the pumps. And then I did check valves on it too, so it won't backflow into the other pump at all. So that's nice. So if we have an issue with a pump, we can just turn the other one on. So that's always nice to have that redundant system there. You see a bunch of fans up here, engine oil cooler, tranny cooler, just the water tank we were talking about for the shower. You see a bunch of that gold film on there. That's for heat, because we got the exhaust coming up right there, so that'll help with some of the heat. And we still need to terminate the rest of the exhaust. Now that we got it up here, we're gonna actually pull the rear shocks back out so we can bump this thing out and then get our exhaust finished out each side through the bedside. So I have a little different exit than what we normally do there. It'll be kind of cool. And then, yeah, moving forward under here, see it's got a carrier bearing, 2-piece drive line with a carrier bearing, because obviously 1-piece drive line would just not work. It would come up through the floor. So these longer pre-runners, you got to run a 2-piece. See a bunch of link pivot tie-ins here. So everything's kind of tied in really nice. This is our frame rail with integrated link pivots as well. So same like gray truck and Tundra and a couple of the other trucks have the same setup. And then we added a bunch of tube structure underneath. And you can see there's a bunch of tabs in all the corners. This all gets skid plated, so this will all be covered. And then you can see up here, it's got a tight little X-pipe built in up there on the, kind of on a little kick. So X-pipe, makes these things sound pretty cool and just helps out with power a little bit. And then here you see Maximum Transmissions 4L80 with the reed case. And this is a close ratio, so second to third with like a stock 480 will drop a lot of RPM. So this one, a little tighter ratio on the gears, so it won't drop as much RPM on like the 2 to 3 shift. So that's nice, because that's the one thing I never really liked about the stock style 480 is that 2-3 shift just dumps the RPM way too much. So that'll be nice. And then this is all ceramic coated, so it'll help out with the heat. You can see there's a bunch of heat wrap on all the plumbing and electrical, and still got to finalize some grounds over here and a couple brake lines. Just need to terminate this brake line. And then I'm working on the oil lines and transmission cooler lines. It'll have 2 on each side, 2 lines more in here. So I got to finalize that. But you can see this whole thing is powder coated, so everything in here is nice and, nice and powder coated. Headers, another set of custom headers, 1 7/8 primaries on those. Nice and ceramic coated. They're all stainless, all nice. You can see all the wiring still needs to get buttoned up, but everything's labeled. Mark the wire guy did a great job on all that. You can see 12 points everywhere. So all RPI 12 points. Yeah, this is our long travel kit. I already explained that. It's pretty straightforward. We got the shocks out and we locked down the alignment and a couple things. So we locked down all the upper arm bolts. Those are all just set and the shocks are ready to go back in. We left the shocks out just so we could cycle the tire if we need to, finishing mounting the front clip. Yeah, you can see the swing set from under here. It's got our 99 to 06 swing set steering. It's got billet swingers. It runs a ram across the back right here. And, standard steering box. And then did something a little different with the engine accessory drive. It's got that big, nice ID Designs 8-rib accessory drive on the front. And we're going to pull that balancer off. And we got all the new stuff over here on the table. So this is something we decided to do kind of late in the build. But these are some of the components that come with, that doesn't come with it, but this is all the ID Designs components right here. Then we had our friends at ARP spec out all the hardware for all of this. So this will all be nice stainless 12 points. Then it's running a big 270 amp alternator. So from DC power, it's got billet housing, big nice adjuster and everything on it. ID Designs does a great job on making these accessory drives. And they make all the pulleys and everything, and pretty intricate setup to get like the balancer on. So it'd be this, then this piece. So it's pretty intricate, and it's an 8-rib setup, so you don't get any belt slip. You can see how big all these are, big old 8 ribs on there. So that'll be nice. But yeah, that's pretty much it on the truck. And then we got some cool stuff for the wheels too. So also from ARP, we got some stainless 12 points for all the beadlock bolts. So those will look nice and just keep the corrosion down a little bit. But yeah, let's go see what the guys are up to in the shop. What's up, Cade? What are you working on? Water lines. Back on the Jeep, we mounted the radiator in the back, so it's good packaging and everything, but the only not fun part is building, 20-something feet of water line. So you got basically 10 feet per side, hot and cold, and it's got to kind of get around, fish through a lot of things. So it's all 1.5-inch aluminum, and we buy, some silicone so we can different bends on the silicone so we can lay it out as best we can, kind of keep everything tight and nice. So yeah, that's what we're working on right now. Can't really see much right here because it's way under there, but up front, you see we did a straight water neck here and then did a 180 aluminum, and then they both drop down and then do a big long run to the back. And then the center section, there's about 5 feet. That's basically hard mounted into the chassis. So we'll tie everything into those and probably do 2 or 3 sections for each hot and cold, just so it's not, if we had one piece from here to the back of the truck, it'd be a little hard to fish that in the truck and probably actually wouldn't even be able to get it in or out of the truck like that. So we'll do it in a couple pieces for ease of install. And then up here, you see we got some aluminum, just trying to, cover up that area right there. The tire, when it's turned, will throw whatever in there in the headers. So just kind of sealing that off nicely. We got it done on both sides. And then basically these are just gonna stay raw aluminum. We'll probably Scotch-Brite them like one more time before final assembly, and then that's it for those. But pretty much all the fab is, once he's done with the radiator lines, all the fabrication on this thing is done. So then everything will come apart and start getting coated. So hopefully next time you see this, it'll be all coated and we'll be finalizing wiring and stuff like that, and then fire it up and go raise some hell. All right, a couple people in the last video were asking about the Defender in the corner. Well, here it is, a Land Rover Defender 90. I'm not sure what year those are. I think they're just the same since they started making them, but someone will probably correct me in the comments, that's fine. So basically what we did, we took that thing all the way apart, cut off a bunch of brackets on the chassis that we know we didn't need, got this chassis sandblasted, and now we're setting up these monster front and rear diffs for this thing. So these are from Spider Tracks, just big knuckles, big chromoly tubes, just insane front diff. And the rear diff's pretty much the same. I'll show you that. It's on the other side of the shop. But this will basically be a Defender 90 with, it had an LS3 in it. We're gonna send that to Maruzzi. He's gonna build it into a stroker, and we're probably gonna push probably 1,000 horsepower at the crank out of that thing. And that'll be in this. It'll be on 35-inch tires. It'll have King internal bypasses all the way around, internal bypass coilovers and bump stops all the way around. It'll have these. It'll have these billet links, front and rear. So it'll be linked front and rear. The rear will be a 4-link. The front will be a 3-link with the panhard. And yeah, it's gonna run our clevis ends on the shocks, so the shocks go here like how we showed you before, like on the Raptor Punisher. Yeah, so this thing's gonna be pretty insane Land Rover Defender 90. We're probably gonna end up caging it. He wants a bunch of custom carbon fiber. Just a pretty outrageous Defender 90 build, so that one's gonna start taking shape pretty quick, so stay tuned for that one. What you working on?
Rear end for that thingy.
Yeah, so this is the rear end for the Defender 90. So it's similar to the front diff, similar to the rear end we got in the Jeep. Same upper link tabs that we make for it, same ones like the Curry rear end, the same ones we make for the TubeWorks rear end as well. It's got our billet tabs. Yeah, so a pretty big, crazy rear end for a Land Rover. And it's gonna get the new TubeWorks billet aluminum third members, front and rear. So that's gonna be pretty wild. We're gonna anodize them gold. So it's gonna be pretty gnarly drivetrain package for Defender 90. So Evan's just about done tabbing this thing out, and then we'll get it back under the truck and start figuring out some link geometry on the chassis. All right, back on the tube chassis truck, you can see we got a lot more tubes in this area in specific. Most of it's welded. I welded everything pretty much on the outside that's easy to get to, because I can't really get in here with the fixtures and kind of stick my head up in here and weld all the insides. So I got everything that's pretty much nice and easy to get to, all done and double passed and everything. These are just tacked on. These are just setting in there right now because I just wanted to see what it would look like, you know. So I got to finish welding all those top tubes, and then I will probably pull the majority of these fixtures out and then still leave some of the back ones in and weld, pretty much laying on my back under this thing and get some of the insides. But coming along really good. I'm really happy with how everything's turning out on it so far. So lots of big long welds and lots of, you know, there was a fixture in here, so there's a bunch of stuff I was working around, but coming together really good. Really happy with the layout that we did, and just everything on this thing is flowing really nice. So super happy with this. And then moving right along to the gray truck, you can see we got a bunch of sheet metal in here. So pretty much from the B-pillar back is pretty much sealed off. Evan's just got to do all his finished welds and just weld everything. But I got a big nice panel in here. Got some plug welds we'll do on to the tubes underneath to keep this from rattling. And then this is where the seat mounts go to for the hard shell PRP seats. And then coming along to the back, all the paneling is done on the sides. None of it's finished. We'll just, before it goes to powder coat, last thing we'll do is go through and DA sand everything, because, you know, you probably get scratched just sitting around here. So, and then top panel came out really nice. It's got this mesh little panel right there to allow some air in, to get some more air drawn into the bottom section right there. Nice cutout right here for the shock. Obviously the anti-wobbles aren't in the shock right now, so it moves a little easy. But you can see it's got massive 4.0 by 27 tube king shock, our billet trailing arms. Probably showed you all that before. Looks really good. I'm really happy with all the aluminum. Pretty much right on par with how the Tundra turned out. Pretty much the same stuff. Still got to do that billet radiator hold down. We're gonna make a new billet fuel cell hold down, kind of trim the fat out of this one and get some more out of this corner, because it'll get tight on the billet radiator hold down. So we're gonna change a couple things there. And yeah, the rear's getting really, really close. But yeah, excited about this thing. All right, another product review. I think we already touched base on this one a little bit, but that's our fuel cell cradle, and that is our Kibbetech fuel cell that we designed and had them made for us. So this is the same setup that is in the Raptor Punisher, and it runs an optional sway bar tube through the fuel cell cradle. This particular customer did not want the sway bar, basically because this truck's a leaf spring, and you can't run that sway bar tube with leaf springs because it would just literally be right in the leaves. But more on the cell, it's got internal pump. It's got a sending unit right here that is the same. So basically whatever year your truck is, I will figure out what the ohms is on the fuel sending unit, so you can hook this right up to stock, and it'll read your fuel level on your stock cluster. So there's no need to add a second fuel gauge or anything like that. Really nice fuel cell. You know, it's FIA approved, made in the USA. So this is not a can, it's actual fuel cell. There's a bladder inside of it, and you can see the little cutout notch right here. And that's for the tube that would go in the cradle here. So a super nice fuel cell. We sell these, they're built to order. Lead time is about 4 weeks, and this particular customer ordered it the 24th of last month, and it showed up on the 23rd of the month after that. So pretty much right on schedule with these guys on getting these fuel cells delivered to us. And so yeah, super nice setup, 37 gallons. Rear weight, it's low, you know, nice weight offset, and a little more capacity over stock. And yeah, just an overall really nice unit. That's what she said.
Hey, nice.